Hello everyone and welcome back to Farming Simulator 19. Welcome back to Abyss Farms. This is the second episode. We are still working on this same field. We're going to get our harvester going again. And I've got big plans for this episode coming up. But right now we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing, but hopefully by the end of the episode we are going to have sheep. We're either going to have actual sheep going, or we're at least going to have the enclosure set up. We're going to have a grass field, either bought or planted, one of the two. And we're going to be well on our way to starting to farm sheep. Now to do that, I've got to get the enclosure set up, which means I've got to clear enough space for it in this field. I have to purchase another field that already has grass growing in it, or I need to purchase a field and plant the grass. And then I need to mow the grass, windrow the grass, bale the grass, all of that. It's a whole lot to get done in one episode, so we're going to see how close we can get. I'm going to give her a try. The most important thing right now is getting this straw up, because it's kind of in the way. Because I want to make sure I have enough space to be able to place this thing properly. And there will be a color change coming. It won't be this episode because I've already got too much to do this episode, but maybe next episode I will install a workshop here at the farm. And with that workshop I'll be able to paint the vehicles and work on them and all that. So I will start painting the vehicles that I can purple for Staring into the Abyss, since this is going to be Abyss Farms. The reason my tractor is redneck orange instead of purple is because I simply do not have the option to make the tractor purple. It only has a couple colors that you can go with for this particular tractor, so we're going with redneck orange. But once I buy the better tractor, that will be purple. I will be changing next episode the bale trailer to purple, and whatever else I can. I'm not exactly sure what else I can change to purple. I don't know why I didn't do it in the first place. I guess I wasn't thinking. But it's fitting because it's going to be Abyss Farms, that everything has the Staring into the Abyss theme and the color and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be working on that. I doubt very seriously we'll get this entire field harvested and everything done by the end of this episode. But we are going to get as much done as possible. It seems like an hour episode you would have plenty of time to get a field done, but a big field like this, it takes quite a while to harvest it. I remember when I first started playing this game, it was, I believe, Farming Simulator 15. I think that's the one I started with, but I might have started with 13. I'm not sure if there even was a 13. Like I said, I don't know. That was a long time ago. But anyway, the first one I started on, I remember doing contracts. And a contract, for example, for those that don't know, is a farmer that owns a field will say, hey, if you harvest the field for me, I will pay you X amount of dollars. So then you accept that contract and you go and you harvest that field. And you run whatever it is that's growing there, whether it's wheat or barley, corn, whatever. You run that to whatever sell point the farmer wants you to. And at the end of it, you receive whatever amount of money was agreed to. And it's all kinds of things. It's not just harvesting. You can do fertilizing, planting, baling of grass bales, all kinds of stuff. But I would do one of those contracts and I would look at a field and think, it won't be so bad. And literally it would be hours later, and I would still be trying to harvest that field. And the bad thing was, you couldn't save it. If you saved the game and left, you just lost the contract. So when you came back on, it's not like you could pick up where you left off like you can now. Back then you couldn't. So it was a matter of, I wonder if I can push this bale all the way down this field. We'll push it part of the way down. I don't think I want to go all the way because I don't want to tumble it down the hill, but we'll push it pretty far. But it was a matter of either you finish it or you lose it. So imagine you are harvesting a very large field, and the payoff is like $15,000 or $20,000. So it's a good little payoff. And you're 2.5 hours, not game hours, real life hours, into harvesting this field. And it's still not done, and you got to go to work. Or you're sitting there almost falling asleep, struggling to stay awake just to finish this field, and you're losing that battle. And you know that you are going to be nodding out very soon. Then you got a decision to make. Look at that, I made it all the way to the end of the field without losing that bale. That's kind of cool. Now let me see if I can get around it. Now don't worry, you see that little bit that I left? I will come back and get that here in a couple minutes. Because some people that are watching this right now are going to look at that and it's going to bug them. And they're going to think, you can't just leave that there. You've got to go get that. That's so crazy just to leave that sitting there in the way. And I feel you. Believe me, I feel you. I have Tourette syndrome. And a lot of people, when they think of Tourette's, they think, refrigerator, right? You think of that. But I don't have that form of Tourette's. I don't say crazy stuff out of nowhere. What I have is a lot of facial tics, and you'll hear every once in a while, it'll sound like somebody breathing out really quickly. Those are little tics that I have that happen. On the radio show, I edit all of that out. I spend literally every time I do a 1 hour radio show, we do one a week, I will spend 7 to 8 hours each time editing the show. Just trying to get rid of all of those little bitty things. Because they are incredibly embarrassing to me. And I know that's stupid because it's a medical condition. There's nothing I can do about it. I was literally born this way and I will die this way. And it's not my fault that I go or whatever, right? But it is incredibly embarrassing to me. And I feel a great deal of shame about it. And I know that's not logical, but it's there and I can't help it. So I will spend a good 8 hours, sometimes more, going through a 1 hour show, a couple seconds at a time, trying to edit those little things out of the show so that it isn't heard when it goes out on the radio. Because our show plays on Para-X and it plays on affiliates all over the world. I think it's like 40 countries or something that our show is heard in now. And for whatever reason, I don't feel comfortable with that stuff going out to that many people. Now the audience here on YouTube is not as large because what this channel was for the longest time was simply a place where I would put the replays of the radio show up for everybody to be able to listen to it that didn't hear it when it was on the radio. And it evolved into doing a couple other little side videos here and there on paranormal topics and articles that I saw that I thought were interesting that I wanted to share with the audience. And then we got into doing the Tales from the Abyss TV show where we went out on ghost hunts and stuff like that. And so, I mean, that's not a regularly scheduled show. We don't have a filming schedule or whatever. It's whenever we feel like going out and doing something, we do it and we film it. So, it has slowly evolved. But even though that audience here on the YouTube channel is not as large, I still try very hard to edit a lot of that stuff out. So if you hear that kind of stuff when I'm doing gameplay videos, hopefully you can understand and forgive me. It's not that I'm sloppy and I'm trying to do bad editing. It's literally sometimes the Tourette's that I have is activated so bad, it's triggered so badly, that there's just no getting it all out. And, I mean, most people aren't going to care. Most people are going to say, dude, you got a disorder. What are you freaking out about? It's not a big deal. Just chill. And for those people, thank you. I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. But for me, it has always been something that I have struggled with and tried extremely hard in my life to overcome. I'm a person that strives for perfection if I can achieve it. I was raised and spent my entire life growing up in the military, and if you have any idea, if you've ever served, if you know what that's like, there is no excuse for not achieving what you want to achieve. There's no excuse for not doing everything in your power to make whatever you do the very best it can be. So that's kind of the way I was raised. I'm going to sell these bales real quick. I want to show you this. This is kind of cool. Because not only is this an auto load trailer, but you can actually unload it all at one time too. You don't have to come and pick this stuff off of it. I'm probably not close enough, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I think I might be a little bit too far away from the sell point. But it moves fairly far away from the trailer. Look, you can lift it way up in the air off the trailer. Yeah, I'm not close enough. But I'll go ahead and drop it anyway here in a second. And I'm going to take a screenshot real quick of this. That's kind of cool looking. Maybe I'll use that as a thumbnail for the video. But I'm going to go ahead and drop this and let it fall. And when I do, a lot of this stuff will get sold. Hopefully all of it will get sold. But I'm not lined up right. I kind of did that incorrectly. But we're going to give it a shot. Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. Okay, so that's okay. If this happens, I'm kind of glad it happened because it's a way to teach you something here. Line back up. You see it's not picking them up. Go into transport position, back into operating position, and it goes back to picking up the bales. Now they're all there again. Right back on a trailer, no big deal. So I'm going to go over here closer, and we're going to unload them again and sell them. But you don't make a whole lot for the bales this way. The pellets, that's the way to go. And we will get there. I just don't want to do a money cheat and get there right away because I kind of want to show you the process of building the farm up. And that's part of the fun, honestly, of this game. And there we go. All done. So I made less than 10 grand probably for the entire load that I did. So it's not great money doing this. But when you think about the fact that this is just a byproduct of harvesting the field, you can turn this off in your controls for your harvester so that you don't even leave straw behind if you choose to. But this is just a byproduct of harvesting the grain. So why not go ahead and sell it? You're just kind of waiting around anyway for the harvester to get done unless you're harvesting it yourself. But if you are like me and you like hiring workers because it's just easier, then this gives you something to do while the worker is working. Now I don't hire workers because I don't want to harvest the field myself or plant the field myself or whatever. The reason I hire workers to do whatever workers can do on the game is because you have to maintain a very straight trajectory when you're doing this. If you start to veer off, what's going to happen is you're not going to have straight lines, so when you come to make your next pass, you're going to be swerving back and forth trying to make sure that you have full coverage of your field. You can't just set it up and line it up and then go and have it not move. It will drift side to side on you a little bit. So that makes it more difficult to do it yourself and have neat lines. And part of the Tourette's, like I was telling you, is it goes kind of hand in hand with obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm not so weird that I have to like wash my hands 6 times, spin around a circle, and whistle Dixie before I can eat. But I do not particularly like it when things aren't symmetrical. Now this here is the sheep pen. This is what I'm getting ready to do. I think I have enough room. See how it's red and, oh, I just had green. I have green. Okay, now look at the price. It's $180,000 is what it cost. See how I get it as close as possible? And then I'm going to lay it down. Now, that should be good to go. But before I do all this, I'm going to drive over and show you. Because I want to make sure that it is level enough to where I can drive over all the parts of it. Because if you don't do this correctly and you have humps, it makes it kind of a nightmare. Now you can go into the landscaping tool. That is, if you hit select and you go to the store to buy things, you scroll over and there's a landscaping tool there, and you can smooth it out and raise and lower the ground and all kinds of stuff. But that takes a great deal of getting used to. All right, so we're going to buy some stuff. There is the smallest trailer, but I want the bigger one. They have this one here. That's the big milk trailer. Let's see. They don't have the other one I want in here. I think it's in another menu. But they have that one there. That's $25,000. It does milk and water. But they also have one that's a mod that I downloaded that can do all liquids. I think it's in miscellaneous. Let me go there. Yeah, it's by Missy B. Brilliant, brilliant mod. This thing costs the same, and it can do everything. It can do milk, water, slurry, fuel, any liquid in the game you can store here. And we're going to make, this is going to be a sharp look. And this is not redneck orange. This is going to be a copper trailer. Because they say copper is really, really good for your body and everything. So I figured, why not give our sheep the very best? Isn't that a gorgeous, gorgeous color? Now, yes, it does look a little bit like redneck orange, and that's probably why I like it so much. But it is copper. We just have to make sure nobody steals it, because a lot of people like to rip off copper because it's worth a good amount of money. Okay, so we got that done. Now we're also going to need a few other things to get this going. Let's see here. Trying to find, no, that's not it. Trying to find the right baler. There's a baler that I downloaded that is a wonderful, there it is. This one here. This is the little mini baler I was telling you about that makes the 1,000-liter bales. This thing is cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get this. We will go with black. That looks kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and get this now while I have the money, so that when we do our grass bales for these sheep that I just bought the pen for, I'll be able to pick them up with my hands to feed the sheep. That's what I want to do. I don't want to have to pick them up with equipment each time. Now, the trailer that I already have to pick up the bigger bales will also pick up the bales for this thing. It looks kind of weird because it doesn't fit exactly right. They kind of levitate, but it works. So I'm good with it, as long as it works and can pick them up. So I'm going to sell this other baler that I have now. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. And for the rest of this straw, I'm not going to make the mini bales of it. I think that I'm going to probably buy a loading wagon if I can get a loading wagon that has a low enough horsepower to it. I'll check that in a minute. I've got to go over here and unload my worker. He is ready for me. Now, he'll sit there all day and night. He doesn't care. It's not like he's going to quit or anything. He'll be there. But the problem is I'm paying this dude. And I continue to pay this dude even if he just sits there. So when he gets full, you want to go ahead and empty him. Plus, you want to get the field done so you can move on to doing something else. And letting him just sit there doesn't help that. So we'll go empty him, and then I will buy a loading trailer for this. I also need to buy another tractor. I need to buy a mower, and I need to buy a windrower. And I need to figure out if I'm buying a field that already has grass growing. I know of one that's on the map right now that I could buy, or if I'm going to plant. I think the smart idea would be just to buy the field that's already ready. That way I don't have to wait for the grass to grow and all that. That's the only way I'm going to get any sheep this episode. Let's see, I can buy this mower. This has a small horsepower and it'll fit right on my tractor. That'll work. That'll mow the grass. Now I need to get a windrower. We'll go with this guy here. He'll do. Okay, now I'm going to need a loading wagon. What's the smallest? 30, 35. Okay, I can't. I can do this one here that is 34,000 liters. That's 120 horsepower, and my tractor is 145, so this will do. I can go bigger later when I get a better tractor, but for right now, that's the best that I can do. Okay, so now we have everything set up with the exception of the other tractor. I still got to buy that. But I'm going to buy this field, field 9. Field 9 is always grass on this map. So I'm going to buy it. It's not very big, but it'll do the job to feed the sheep. As long as I don't have too many sheep starting out. And I can always plant grass somewhere else. Buy another field and plant grass, or plant grass on the field that I own right now, if I want to. So I'm going to run back down here to the shop and pick up my loading wagon. And then I'm going to need to buy that other tractor. I think I'm going to buy another one of these for now, because it has enough horsepower to operate all the grass cutting machinery I need. So it'll do the trick. Later on, I'm going to buy better tractors and bigger tractors and all that kind of stuff. But I'm burning through a tremendous amount of money right now. I started off with like $1.25 million to start this farm, and I'm already down to $172,000. So I still have to buy sheep. And I'm going to need to buy a front loader at some point. I'll do that once I already have my sheep together and everything, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to pick up the pallets of wool in order to sell them. Now I'll sell them at the sell anything point that's right there on my farm, so I don't have to go far, but I can't pick them up with my hands. They're too heavy. So I'm going to have to buy either a front loader, a wheel loader, a skid steer, something like that, a forklift. I'm going to have to buy something. I could buy a front loader attachment for the tractor that I already have. I could buy the capability to do it, like put this thing on the front so that it'll work. And then I can buy the front loader attachment itself, and then pallet forks to pick up the pallets. But that is a tremendous pain in the butt unless you have a tractor that is just for that purpose. Because to attach it and unattach it, you've got to figure out which attachment you're on your menu and keep messing with it till it does right. And it's a pain in the butt. I don't like messing with it. So I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to buy something, probably a front loader, because you can get a front loader for like 60 G's. And I'm not going to mess with pallet forks either, because they get a little wonky sometimes. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy this other attachment that will allow me to pick it up. It's kind of cool. Of course, I ran right into that little tree. It's pretty cool, and I'll explain it when I actually buy the front loader and everything. That won't be this episode unless I get my sheep going this episode. Then it will be, but I don't think I'm going to get the sheep going this episode. I'm going to try. Don't get me wrong. That's the goal. But I just don't know. We're going to make this one green because we're cutting grass with it. So it's going to be green and yellow, John Deere colors. Let's see. We want to make the engine better. I think that's all we want to do with it. So that'll do. 27 grand. We'll take her. Okay. Now we're going to switch to this tractor. We're going to go ahead and pick up our mower. Now this little mower, it doesn't attach the way you think it does. Like everything else, I back up just like this, just like with all the other equipment, but it doesn't attach. I got to go to the other side of it in order to attach it, which is kind of silly. I don't know why they just wouldn't turn it around, but it doesn't turn around that way. It attaches differently. And I'm cool with it attaching like this. I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying when it appears, why not just turn it the right way so you don't have to go to the opposite side? That's all I'm saying. I like the mowing of the grass on this game. It's kind of cool. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of other things you can buy. You can use multiple different mowing attachments that are much larger than this. if you choose. You can also put this on the front of your tractor and put another one on the back that covers 2 more rows. That's an option a lot of people go with. Some people will put this on the front of their tractor and they'll put a loading wagon on the back to just pick up the grass as they mow it. That's an option as well. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it. You can also buy a forage harvester. And what that is a large harvester like the one that's doing the wheat up in our field right now. But it has a forage header on it. And it basically mows and shoots whatever it mows up through a tube into a trailer that it hauls behind it. Now that can be used to mow grass. It can be used to cut down any of the crops, just like you're mowing grass. And what you end up with at the end of it is chaff. And chaff is used to ferment and make silage, which you can feed to your cows. Or you can mix that silage with hay and a little bit of straw if you want, but you don't have to. You can make it just with hay to make total mixed rations to feed your cows. But since we don't have cows right now, I'm not particularly worried about that. We're starting with sheep. Now when we get to the point where we have cows, then we'll get into making total mixed rations and all that. It's a long and complicated process when you first start it out, because you've got to get your silage set up going to where you have a good deal of that. Some of the grass that you cut, you're going to be turning into hay. Some of it you're going to be dumping to make silage out of. And then you're going to, of course, have straw on hand because you have animals. So you'll be mixing those together in a mixing wagon to make the total mixed rations. And then you feed those to the cows. Now the cows eat a lot. You can have a very small amount of cows and spend a great deal of time trying to keep them fed. And I'll be honest with you, the payoff is not worth it. If you're just looking at the animals as a pure investment. Now I'm going to hire a worker to do this as well because I need to get my other tractor back up. But I want you to see what this looks like when it cuts. Isn't that neat? And then as it goes row to row, it will keep doing that, and you get that satisfaction of it changing color as you're going. Same thing you get when you mow. I don't know if everybody gets that satisfaction, but I've always really enjoyed it. I love being out on the tractor. I love being out on a mower. I just love this kind of stuff. It not only scratches an itch, but it just fulfills something inside of you. When you go out there and you sweat and you work your butt off to plant a field. Now, I don't farm on a scale like this. We have our own property, and I grow vegetables here for us. And I also have an orchard that I have planted where I can go and get cherries and peaches and apples and plums and stuff like that. I've planted a lot of different trees. I have pecan trees. I have walnut trees. I love this kind of stuff. And once you harvest all that stuff, there's such a sense of accomplishment. You know, you go out there and you work hard, you plant it all, you sweat, and then you take care of it. You nurture it, you water it, you make sure that it's okay. You go out there and you pull weeds if you need to. You do whatever you need to do to keep those things alive. And then at the end of the year, you go out there and you have this beautiful, lush, green garden growing. And these amazing vegetables that taste better than anything you've ever had in your life. There's vegetables that I don't even like, that I love when they come out of the garden. But I won't eat them from the store because I don't like them. They don't taste good to me. But for some reason, out of the garden, they are phenomenal. And then there are vegetables that I like, but out of the garden is a whole nother level. A good example of that is broccoli. I like broccoli. Broccoli's pretty good. Fresh broccoli right out of the garden, unbelievable. One of the best things I've ever eaten. The corn, when it's fresh right off the cob, oh, when you go out there and you pick it off the stalks and you boil it up right there, oh my God, it is so good. And there's all kinds of different corn that you can plant. You can even plant popcorn if you want to. and harvest your own popcorn. But anyway, my point is the satisfaction that you get from doing that is unlike anything else in the world. You will be so happy and so proud of yourself. And it's such a wonderful stress reliever too. It's just calming for the spirit. And then I really enjoy the whole process of saving and preserving the food as well. I love canning. I love dehydrating. I love all of that stuff. It's kind of weird to think that there was a time in this country where that's what everybody did. It wasn't like you would say, oh, I'm a gardener or I'm a farmer. Everybody was a farmer just about. You know, you had some people that weren't, that lived in town, but they probably, even at their house, they probably had a small garden. I know when my grandparents were coming up, everybody had a garden. But nowadays, it's kind of becoming one of those things that is a lost art. A lot of people don't know how to do this stuff anymore. A lot of people have no idea how to can food. They don't know how to dehydrate. They don't know how to do the things that used to be commonplace. And I think that's sad. I mean, technology is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love technology. I couldn't do the things I do in my life if I didn't have technology. But you shouldn't lose that sense of your past. You shouldn't lose the ability to produce your own food and take care of yourself. I feel the same way about a lot of the bushcraft and the survival skills stuff. You should know how to survive. You should know how to build a fire without matches or a lighter. You should know how to build a shelter, because all of those things not only put you in touch with your heritage and your ancestors, but also, well, I mean, hell, it might save your life one day. You might find yourself in a situation where you need to know those things in order to survive. And I've always been fascinated with the old ways. Whether it is studying old medieval lore. I mean, people that listen to the radio show, you guys know, I know a hell of a lot about history. I know a hell of a lot about the lore of all kinds of creatures that time has forgotten. And I know a lot about the lore of creatures that are popular today. But I also know a great deal about survival. I know a great deal about farming and farming methods and all of those old skills, canning and preserving, all of that stuff. I have always been fascinated with all of those things. I've always been fascinated with how mankind survived and flourished. What enabled us to build a civilization. Because you have to be food independent in order to start concentrating on technology and industrialization and all of these things. And to reach a point where we are today, where people are so removed from their food, is mind-boggling to me. Most people have no idea what it takes to fill their refrigerator. They don't know how to butcher an animal. They don't know what that process is like. They have no idea what it takes to raise an animal. They have no idea what it takes to grow the vegetables and fruit that they enjoy. They're so far removed from that process. But I've always been interested in that process. I want to know how all those things are done. And not only do I want to know how they're done, I want to do them myself. Like, I planted a whole field of crops by hand. A giant garden that had everything that we liked in it. And I did it all with no machinery, no gasoline, all picks and shovels. Because I wanted to, one, be able to really understand how the process worked back then. Now, I know they had cows, and I know they had horses and mules and stuff like that that could pull a plow. I got it. But I wanted to do it by hand. Because one, I wanted to understand the process better, the way it used to be done. And two, I wanted to see if I could actually do it. Because there's a difference between knowing something from a book and knowing it because you've done it with your own two hands. Those are two different levels of confidence and competence in a subject matter. I know a great deal about the steps that it takes to do some things, but I have never done them. So if I had to actually do them in real life, in person, I would second guess stuff because I've never actually done it. I've just read about it. I don't like that. So what I try to do with everything in my life is, when possible, I try to put what I have learned into practice to make sure that I am able to do those things that I have read about, that I do actually possess the knowledge because I can do it. And two, also to test it, to see, is this real? Will this actually work and get the results they say it will? I've read that it will, but until I do it myself, you never actually know. Things like that interest me. It gets stuck in my brain, and I can't let it go until I find out. That's what makes me so good at what I do. That's what makes the show so good. Is because I can't. I'm going to buy a well, I think, and put here to fill this water thing up. That's what makes the show so good, is that I can't let things go. I have to learn everything there is to learn about it. And that equals out to a lot more information for you. I think I'm going to put it over here by the sell anything thing, because I can sit it right by the trough where the water goes, and then all I have to do is pull in and fill up and dump at the same time. This way I'm going to have to kind of drive a little bit to fill up, but it's not all that far. But the thing is, I don't know yet where I want to lay everything out, and the well is out of the way here, so it'll work. At least temporarily it'll work. I can always sell it and then buy another well and put in place once I get all the buildings where I want them and all the enclosures where I want them and everything. So I think that's a wise move for the beginning. And since it's $600 I think is all it costs, it's not that big deal. It's not that big a deal at all. Okay, so let's take this trailer. I think this guy should be done. Let's go and empty him out, and then we will probably grab that loading wagon and start getting some of this straw out of the way with the loading wagon. It's going to work pretty much the same way the baler worked, but there's not going to be anything coming out of it. All the straw will get sucked up and it will just hang out in the trailer until it's full. And then I can take it and I can sell the straw that way. Now eventually I'm going to be making the hay pellets. So I'm going to be using the straw for that, a lot of it. But right now I don't have the money to do it. I don't have the money to buy the big tractor. I don't have the money to buy the pellet machine. I don't have the money to buy all the stuff I need. So instead of just storing this, making a big pile of it somewhere, or something like that, I'm just going to go ahead and sell it, because one thing you always end up with a great deal of on this game is straw. That's a given. Whatever silo you buy, whatever storage you use, you will max out on straw every time you play the game. Not every day, but you will always max out on straw eventually, because you get a lot more straw than you will use. So it's not going to hurt anything to go ahead and sell it now, because it's easily replaceable. And there's also a buy anything mod that I can throw next to the sell anything mod if I want to. and I can just simply buy whatever I need. So if I need straw, I buy straw. If I need hay, I buy hay. And you don't actually have to do the work to produce it yourself. I don't really like doing that though, that much, because doing the work is part of the fun, I think. But it's nice to have that option if you need it. Like when you are doing pigs, you can either grow all the different crops that it takes to feed the pigs. They need corn, they need either wheat or barley, they need either canola or sunflowers or soybeans. That's another category. And then the last category is going to be potatoes or sugar beets. So they're going to need one out of each of those categories to fill up their trough. And how many pigs you have determines the amounts that you need to grow and feed them. And they eat a lot. And the way you make your money off your pigs is because they make more pigs. So say you buy 50 pigs, they breed very quickly. See, I told you I was going to pick this up. They breed very quickly, so before too long you have 60 pigs and then 100 pigs, and it gets out of control. And then you sell the pigs to make your money. But you got to feed all those pigs. So it'll get to the point to where if you feed them with the crops you grow, you will literally be just growing crops to feed your pigs, and you're not selling them anymore. So you're not making the money for selling them. The pigs don't sell for much. So that means you take a huge hit in cash. Now, one thing you can do is continue to sell all the crops that you grow and then just buy what you need to feed your pigs from your Buy Anything mod, because it's a lot cheaper that way. You can buy the crops for way cheaper than you can sell them. You can also buy pig food, which contains a mix of everything a pig needs. The problem with that is it's extremely expensive to buy pig food. You're not going to make from the pigs what you will be paying to feed the pigs if you do pig food. But it's easy. So it's nice to have that option in a pinch. Like say you don't have any fields that have corn and they're out of corn. So their productivity is going down. They're not producing other pigs quick enough because they don't have any corn. Well, you can either plant corn and wait and wait and wait until it grows, harvest it, and feed them. Or you can simply go over to your Buy Anything mod and say, you know what, give me a trailer full of corn because I'm out. So it's nice to have that option. I think the more options you have, the more fun you're going to have playing the game. That's the way I look at it. And that's why I really enjoy the mods for this game. There are mods that are absolute game changers in this game. Mods that will completely change the way you play the game, for the better. There are mods that make things so much easier on you. And then there are mods that will absolutely make the game too easy and you just won't have fun anymore. And then you have your creative mods that are just cool things like old style tractors and stuff like that. He is almost done with his field, so I think we're going to stick with him for a minute, because once he's done, I'm going to go and get that windrower and we are going to windrow this field. Now, for those that have never done any farming and you have no idea what a windrower is, when I'm mowing this field of grass here, you can see that basically the grass is just where I mow it. It just stays where I mow it. Now, if I'm going to come back and I'm going to bale all this, I'm going to have to make a great deal of passes back and forth on this field in order to pick up all this grass, because it's everywhere. But what a windrower does is it will pick up all the grass and it will channel it into one line out the back. The size windrower I bought handles 3 lines. So for every 3 lines of grass, it will convert it into 1. So that means that I have to do 1/3 of the passes on the field that I would have had to do if I didn't windrow it. That's what it's for. It comes in extremely handy. It doesn't take very long to windrow it, and it makes a very big difference. It also cuts down on the time that you spend filling your trailer if you're doing it loose, because it's more concentrated in one area. You pick up a lot more at a time. You can also have a worker do it, but this is one of the rare cases where it's actually better to do it yourself than it is to hire a worker. Because what the worker is going to do is you line him up so that he does 3 rows and turns it into 1. But once he's done with that row, he's going to turn and start again. But he's not going to move over enough to cover 3 rows, so he's probably only going to cover 2 rows. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and you're not getting all of the grass that you could have gotten into a row, which means more passes on the field, more time in order to get all the grass up. That's why you kind of want to do it yourself. Plus, it's one of those things that it's just fun. I really enjoy the windrowing part. It's not hard to do. All you have to do is follow the line. And it is kind of forgiving because the windrower itself is a little bit larger than the 3 rows. So if you waver a little bit left and right, it isn't a huge deal. It's still going to pick up what it's supposed to pick up. So it's very forgiving. And it's just fun. I just enjoy it. So this will complete this field so that I can windrow it. So then I'm going to put this mower somewhere out of the way. See, maybe I'll back up over here by these trees and just kind of drop it off so it's out of the way. I don't want to take it with me because I'm going to go all the way back to the store. Sorry, I was just checking to see how much my harvester needed to go before it was full. I need to go all the way back to the store to pick up the windrower, and I don't want to take that with me because I can't bring both back. And I'm going to use that mower here on this field, so I might as well leave it here so I don't have to make another trip later. So I'm going to head back to the store. There's multiple ways to get to everything. I have played this map enough that I kind of know it by heart, and I can get everywhere I need to get without even checking where I'm going. This map was the starting map for Farming Simulator 17. And I played probably thousands of hours of Farming Simulator 17. I'm going to go ahead and it told me that he was almost full. So I'm going to go ahead and unload him real quick, and then I'll get back to doing the store. But I probably played thousands of hours of Farming Simulator 17. And this map was my all-time favorite map of any of the maps on any of the games. When Farming Simulator 19 came out, I couldn't play this map anymore because it wasn't included. So I had to learn new maps, and I had to play new maps. There's a bunch of new maps. I can do, if you guys like this game, I have no problem playing a lot of it because I love this game. I'm going to be playing anyway. But I can do series on all kinds of different maps for you guys, and you can see all kinds of maps and all kinds of things. It's an amazing game. But I didn't have the ability to play this map anymore because it wasn't on the new game. Well, when mods came out for this game, I kept waiting, hoping that this map would come out as a mod, because there's a bunch of maps that have come out as mods that you can play. So finally, recently, they put this out as a mod. It was a couple months ago, I think. And I downloaded it the day it came out. I was so excited to play this again. Now, a lot of times what happens is you play a map that you used to play, and it just doesn't it just doesn't do it anymore. It just doesn't live up to what you remember of it. But this is one of those rare occasions where it is pretty much as good as it was then. This is a brilliant map. Now on the original map, you couldn't place your animal pens wherever you wanted. That did not exist in Farming Simulator 17. That's something that is new to Farming Simulator 19. So all of the animal enclosures were built in. They were already here. And you just had to buy the land and you could put animals in it. So one of the challenges they had when they made this mod was, how do you go about that? Because now you can place them anywhere. So do you leave the map the same way it used to be? Or do you get rid of those animal enclosures that were static, that were just there? And they chose to get rid of them and extend fields to cover the area and all kinds of stuff. It was really well done the way they did it. And I really still enjoy playing this map. This is my favorite map to play out of any of them. And there's a lot of really, really good maps that you can play on Farming Simulator 19. And with the addition of mods, there's dozens and dozens and dozens more maps that you can download and play. And there's maps that are focused on different aspects of the game. Like one of the aspects of this game that you haven't seen yet is forestry. Every single tree on the map you can cut down. You can cut down the tree, you can cut it up into logs, you can sell the logs. You can throw it into a wood chipper and make wood chips out of it and sell the wood chips. So if you're a person that is into forestry and you enjoy doing that, there are maps that are dedicated just to forestry, where literally it's an entire forest. And there aren't even fields to harvest or anything. It's just for cutting down trees and doing forestry work. So you could download one of those maps and play that. And there's a lot of really cool machinery for forestry. Of course, you can buy a chainsaw and do it the old way, where you just saw down a tree and saw it up, the way I've been doing it my whole life. But they also sell gigantic forestry equipment that cuts down the trees for you. And they have giant trailers that you can load your trees onto once you cut them down and take them and sell. There's all kinds of awesome stuff you can do with that. I'm not a huge forestry person. What I usually do with forestry is I will buy a chainsaw, and once I get my farm going and everything's kind of working the way it's supposed to work, as my workers are doing fields and stuff like that, I will work on cutting down trees. So I will cut down a tree to clear an area that I want to clear, and I will saw it up into logs and I'll throw it into a trailer, and when the trailer gets full, I'll run it up and sell it. But I'm doing that as I'm waiting for other things to happen on the game so that I can get back to doing other things. I do it as a time filler. I enjoy it, but that's the way I use it. But there are people that do it all the time because they love it, and you can make decent money at it. So I'm going to show you how to use this windrower. What you want to do is you want to keep in mind this particular windrower is going to do 3 rows. So you're going to want to line your tractor up to the middle row out of the 3. Then you're going to lower it down to the ground. You're going to turn it on, and then you're just going to cruise. And what you want to do is you want to stay in the middle of the 3. Now, as you see here, what's happening is it's taking all of that grass and it's funneling it out the back of this windrower. So what you're left with once you go by is just a single line of grass instead of 3. So then when you come back to bale that or pick that up, all of the grass from the 3 rows is now in 1. So you can pick it up much quicker. Now, as you see, I kind of went a little sideways there because the tractor will drift back and forth. So your line's going to move a little bit, but that's not that big of a deal. You're still picking up the 3 rows. And then once you're done all the way up, you just turn around, line yourself back up again, so you're in the middle of the next 3 rows, and you hit it again. That's all there is to it. Now the great thing about grass is you plant it once. You don't have to replant after this. It grows back. So as you do this process, you mow the lawn, so to speak, you mow your field, you windrow it, you come through and bale it, you pick up your bales, or you come through with a loading wagon and just pick up the grass. By the time you get done with all of that, the field should be regrown so you can do it again, depending on the speed you have the game going. Right now I have it at 5 times speed, so I might have to wait a little bit on the field. But if you are running the game at 15 times speed, which is the speed that I normally run the game on, the grass will be pretty much regrown very quickly after you get done with it. So you can build up a surplus of grass to feed your animals. Now, with the grass, if you're just using it as grass, you feed that to your sheep, and your cows will also eat grass. Your sheep can also eat hay, and your cows will use hay, and hay is used in total mixed rations for your cows as well. Now to make hay out of grass, you're going to have to buy a tedder. Now what a tedder is essentially just a long bar of a machine that has little spinning blades, and it'll go through and it'll turn the grass. In real life, what you do is you turn the grass like that and you let it dry. And then you come back and you turn it again and you let it dry. And you repeat that process as many times as you need to every day or two until your grass is dry and it becomes hay. If it rains, obviously, you got to kind of restart that process. But in the game here, on the normal mode, you just run over it once and it becomes hay. So what you're going to want to do if you're making hay, if you're doing it on your field, do not windrow your field until you're done making hay. Because what's going to happen when you run over your rows that you've done to make them hay, it's going to spread them back out. So you're going to have to go back over it again with the windrower. So you're better off just leaving it all lay on the field and tedding it all at once, and then coming back and windrowing the hay instead of windrowing the grass, and then picking up your hay that way. I don't really need to make hay because I don't have cows yet. Horses also will eat hay, but I don't have those either. I just have sheep right now. Or I'm getting ready to get sheep, let's put it that way. So the sheep will eat the grass just fine. There's no advantage to giving the sheep hay over grass. So why take that extra step if I don't have to yet? I just love how neat this looks. It's nice and tidy. Once you get it all into rows, it looks brilliant. I just love it. And you can see in not much time at all, I've already done the majority of the field. I mean, 2 more passes and I'm done with this field as far as getting the rows together. But as you can see, it's time to unload my worker again. Now, I know you're probably looking at this thinking, man, you're getting way behind on that straw, and you're right. But that's not a big deal because I can pick this up whenever I want to. There's no rush. I'm not going to be selling this field back. I'm going to be keeping it. So the only thing I'm losing by not doing it is the money I would get for selling it, and then the money I will get when I replant this field. And believe me, I'm not going to let it sit like this forever. But I could if I wanted to. And that might even be a strategy to think about, because I am going to be making pellets. So it kind of makes sense. But that's all the time we have for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like and subscribe to the channel. And until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you. So do I. Bye-bye.